All right, you ready for this?
Always.
Today, we're diving deep into something pretty cool you sent our way. The rise of, get this, American football in Brazil.
Color me intrigued.
Right. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. Wikipedia, some in-depth articles, even a YouTube interview with a coach, an American coach, living it up down there.
They're like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, exactly. Where do we even begin with this?
Well, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so first things first, how did American football even get to Brazil in the first place? Then we'll see what the NFL's doing down there, what's up with their local leagues, and the big question, right, can it really make it in the land of soccer? Oh, and that coach in the YouTube interview. That's a story you don't want to miss.
It's wild, isn't it? A sport, like, so American, finding a home in a place with, like, such a different sporting scene.
Totally. So let's rewind the clock. This article, American Football in Brazil, History and Growth, it says the very first American football game on TV there was, get this, 1969.
1969, whoa! That's like way before any leagues or anything.
Right, like the Rio Guardians or the Liga BFA, which is like their big league now.
I guess that shows you the power of media, you know? Introducing something new, even across, like, continents.
It's like planting a seed. Takes
Yes.
a while to grow. Speaking of growing, let's jump to now. Same article. Crazy numbers. Super Bowl viewership going through the roof in Brazil, even beating out other sports channels.
Wow, that's a serious sign of, like, real interest. And get this, Brazil is the 3rd biggest market for the NFL globally. Did you know that?
I did not.
Surprising, right?
Yeah.
It's more than just, casual viewers.
Definitely not a fad. And it's not just watching the NFL from afar either. Local leagues like that Liga BFA, the article says they're super important for the sport to, like, grow there.
Makes sense. You got to have leagues where Brazilian athletes can actually, play and compete. Homegrown talent, that's how you build a fan base.
And that brings us to something really cool. Remember that YouTube interview? An American guy, Joe Daniels, moved to Brazil to coach. Talk about following your dreams.
I love those stories. It's never too late, right, to just go for it.
So he's a teacher for years, then just, boom, life change. He's been coaching down there for 4 seasons, loving it.
That's awesome. Reminds me, you got to go after what you love, even if it means shaking things up.
Right, but here's the thing. The elephant in the room? Soccer. Can American football really make it, like seriously make it, in a country obsessed with soccer?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, that American Football in Brazil article, it lays out the challenges. Soccer is everywhere. Equipment, infrastructure, not easy to come by. And most Brazilians, they don't really know American football.
David and Goliath situation for sure. But maybe, just maybe, it can find its own space, like a different kind of sporting experience, not competition, more like alongside soccer.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Finding a way to, like, introduce it to people, show them what's unique about it.
Well, in that YouTube interview, Joe tells this story. His team, Fortaleza Tritões, they went on this crazy winning streak last season.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
They beat a team that hadn't lost in, get this, 11 years.
11 years. That's huge. I mean, it shows they're getting good down there, right? Competitive. Makes you wonder, what if this is just the start?
Right. What if Brazil becomes like a football powerhouse?
No, that would be something to see.
All right, before we get too ahead of ourselves, so in the YouTube interview, Joe, he talks about his coaching philosophy, don't be afraid to lose.
Yeah.
He actually brings up Michael Jordan, saying even the best mess up sometimes.
That's a good lesson, not just for sports, right? Bouncing back, learning from when things don't go your way. It's like so much of life.
Focus on getting better,
Yeah.
not just like winning all the time.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, that article, American Football in Brazil, they talk about needing sponsorships and stuff.
Yeah, money matters. Especially for a sport trying to, like, find its footing. You need the resources to build things up, train people, put on events, all that. Big brands getting involved, that could really help.
It's like building a foundation, right? One step at a time. Okay, let's go back to the very beginning. Organized football in Brazil. The Wikipedia article on their football federation, it says the first actual team was the Rio Guardians back in 92.
92, that's, wow, a while ago now. But that's how it starts, right? You get a governing body, some rules, and then boom, you got competition.
From that one team, it's grown a lot. Same Wikipedia article, they say there's 14 teams now. A whole championship. over 50 games a year.
That's pretty impressive. Shows it's catching on at least a little bit.
Like a little sprout, slowly turning into a tree.
Hmm.
So, thinking about everything, where do you see this going? American football in Brazil, I mean.
Well, that article, History and Growth, it says a few things are key. Finding talented young players, obviously. Giving them the coaching they need, like setting them up for success.
Building the next generation. But that's not all, is it?
Nope. The media needs to keep showing it, you know? Get people excited, highlight the players, the coaches, make it something people talk about.
Get the word out. And what about the NFL? What can they do?
Oh, they can do a lot. They have the, resources, bringing games to Brazil, investing in the youth programs, supporting those local leagues. That would be a huge signal, you know? Like, they're serious about it.
It would change the game, for sure. And then you got stories like Joe's, right? The passion, moving to a new country, coaching. It's inspiring.
It really is. It shows, even with different cultures, you can find common ground, a shared love for something.
And that brings up something interesting. We talked about Brazilian players maybe making it to the NFL. But what if that's just the beginning? What if Brazil becomes like a football superpower, producing amazing athletes who bring a whole new style to the game?
Now, that would be something. We've seen in other sports, right? International players bringing something new, changing the game.
Imagine Brazilian athletes, they're known for their flair, their creativity, bringing that to football.
That would be amazing to see. And think about what it would do for fans, for young players in both countries.
The power of sports, right? Connecting people. This whole deep dive, it's been full of surprises. The history, the people, the possibilities.
Yeah, who knew we'd go so deep with just that one question? How's football growing in Brazil?
And we've learned way more than just the answer. The challenges, the potential, the stories.
It really makes you think about how sports, they reflect what's going on in the world, you know? The connections, the shared passions that can bridge, anything.
Before we wrap up, one last thing for everyone to think about.
I'm listening.
We've talked about a lot, but the biggest takeaway maybe is this. Don't underestimate passion and hard work.
That's the truth. Whether it's a coach like Joe following his dream or those Brazilian athletes picking up a new sport, dedication, going outside your comfort zone, that's powerful stuff.
So, to everyone listening, what's your dream? What are you passionate about? Don't be afraid to go for it, even if it's scary, even if it's new.
You never know where it'll lead you.
And hey, maybe someday we'll be deep diving into your story. That's all the time we have for this episode.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deep.
And keep those source materials coming. Can't wait to see what you send us next. We talked about Brazilian players, maybe making it to the NFL. But what if, that's just the start. What if someday Brazil is a football powerhouse?
Whoa, their own style, their own energy.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen it happen in basketball, international players changing the game.
True. And Brazil, they're already so athletic.
Imagine those guys, the ones who are amazing at soccer, bringing those skills to football.
Whoa, that would be wild. And for fans, imagine. So much excitement.
It'd be so cool, breaking down those barriers, bringing people together. This whole deep dive, it's been one discovery after another.
Yeah, from the history to those personal stories like Joe.
And it all started with that question. How's football growing in Brazil?
Right. But we found so much more than just an answer.
The challenges, the potential, everything.
It shows you, sports can tell you a lot about, the world, right? Connections, shared passions.
Okay, before we go, one last thing to think about.
Right.
We've talked about all this stuff, but maybe the biggest lesson is don't ever underestimate passion and hard work.
That's it. That's the P.
Joe, going to a whole new country, those Brazilian athletes, learning a new sport, it's inspiring.
It really shows you what's possible.
So anyone listening, what's your dream? Don't be afraid to go after it, even if it's totally new, totally different.
You never know, right?
And hey, maybe someday we'll be deep diving into your story. That's all the time we have for today.
See you next time. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those deep dives coming.
And keep sending us those source materials. We can't wait to see what you find next.